Hey, and welcome back to yet another episode of Mixing a Prog Album Live. My name is Luke Nealeigh, in case you didn't know. But of course, today we are still working on AfterWinter's second album called Boundless. Today is episode 28, which is pretty cool. We are still working on track 8, called The Silver Lining. Hey, if you are one of our new subscribers, big thanks for subscribing. We really appreciate the support on this channel. We hope you like what you're hearing as far as all our music is concerned, what you're seeing as far as this series and some of the other videos that are on our channel. We've still got plenty more videos to go for this album, so plenty more where this is coming from. Thank you again for subscribing. We've got several new subscribers. We've just finally broke 160, which is pretty awesome. So huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed, whether you're new or whether you've been subscribed for a long time. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. We got lots of cool stuff coming up regarding this album, and like I said, plenty more videos yet to go in this series before we are done. So let's take a look at what we're working at today. There we go. So of course we're still looking at the session for track 8, The Silver Lining, where we are looks like pretty good way through sound detail. Yes, we are getting ready to start on pianos for sound detail. So let's jump into that. We've got 2 piano tracks in this song. We've got a Steinway grand piano, which is normal for this. Excuse me. The only thing this is doing, however, is the funny little piano thing near the end, right before chorus 2. There's just a quick little piano run that goes diddle diddle. Excuse me. And then we're in. And then the other piano in the song is a harpsichord, which we've just labeled as piano, which happens during the 3 choruses. And then we've got some reverb channels. We've got a couple of reverbs for the harpsichord and our normal reverb for the piano, which are all set up already. I'm good with the sound of all of these already. I don't think we need to mess with them. And then our piano master here just has our multipressor, compressor, and channel EQ. Now, we can actually get rid of the compressor here. There's never a point where there are 2 piano tracks playing at the same time, so we don't need that. But let's definitely take a look at our multipressor. We're just going to jump up to a chorus here. And we're going to be listening specifically for the harpsichord here and taking a look at how this is or is not compressing that. Just jump over here just so that I can make sure when this plays you guys are actually hearing it.
There's a silver lining here. We'll be free. Though we struggle to find it now, we'll make it through somehow. We may never know the reasons why. There's a purpose within this fight. Deny the wrong and find the light.
Okay, yep, I'm good with all that. I think we are also going to leave the channel EQ off for now. This particular channel EQ is just doing a mid-range bandpass thing, which was helping the pianos cut through the orchestra, but we do not know yet that that's necessary here. The harpsichord is playing at the same time as the orchestra, but it may not require any help cutting through, or if it does, it may not be these frequencies. So we'll leave that off for now. Okay. Moving on over into strings, we have quite a few strings channels here, not as many as some of these songs, but we've got 2 low strings, 2 high strings, and a French horns track. Now these are, again, mostly playing during the choruses. Looks like low strings 2 and high strings 2 are chorus. The French horn only happens during chorus 3, and then low strings and high strings 1 are the intro, verses, and breaks, and the ending. Okay, nice that we kind of worked that out for ourselves. Hey, Majennica's here. Yo! So I'm pretty good with how these all sound individually. We can take a listen even to how these sound. It's always neat to hear what Sam's got going on orchestra-wise in these. Let's jump to a chorus here. Ooh. Yo, yo, 2 yos. That's a lot of yos. We're reaching our yo limit. Right. So pretty standard stuff for, giving the chorus a nice kind of orchestral vibe to it. We do have our orchestra reverb on in there too. Oh my gosh, 3 yos. You guys are nuts. You guys are crazy. So many yos. So this, as per usual, I should point out too that each one of these, the corresponding numbers are a single performance. So low strings 1 and high strings 1 are a single performance that I separated into left hand and right hand so that we can mix and affect them differently. Same thing with low strings 2 and high strings 2, a single performance that I separated. And then French horn is its own thing. Let's actually jump out to chorus 3 so we can hear the French horns a little more clearly as well. Yeah, I like those French horns just adding a little bit of extra kind of neatness to that final chorus. Gives it a little bit more importance, a little bit more epic, especially those 2 final chords that kind of stick out a little better. Will be a good send-off for an already epic chorus. So let's, now we do have stuff going on in the verses that's a little bit of a quicker strings. This is the intro, actually. Getting a little bit too much bottom end on that, actually. Let's take low strings 1 down just a hair. We don't want to muddy anything up too bad. Oh. Gosh, I've turned the wrong thing down. That's what I was looking for. Oh, man. Okay. One of these days. I could deny that I just grabbed the wrong fader again, but, since I have this handy mixer view, you guys probably saw me pull down the wrong fader a second time. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. All right, so I want to jump back up to a chorus here and take a look at the stuff that's on our orchestra master. So again, we have a multipressor, a compressor, and a channel EQ. I want to definitely take a look at the section near where the French horns are in and then when the French horns are in. Because we want it to be compressing a little bit, but I want to make sure that it's not compressing way too hard when the French horns jump in. Okay, good with all that. Take a look at our compressor here too, which is in dual mono. See what happens if we... Yeah, I like that. The studio VCA here gives that bottom end a nice round warmth that I like a lot. We do have another channel EQ on here. This may be necessary. Let's go ahead and turn this on, but let's turn that dip right there off. Yeah, I don't think that 1K is doing much. Okay. I'm going to turn everything else back on here real fast so we can kind of give a good listen to those EQ moves there.
There's a purpose within this fight. Deny the wrong and find the light. We pray. There's a silver lining here. We'll be clear. Though we struggle to find it now, we'll make it through somehow. We may never learn the reasons why. Hear this message within your fight. Deny the wrong and find the light.
Okay, all good with that. Next is our synth. We just have the one Bandersnatch synth lead track here. Nothing on the synth master. And I think all of the stuff is already pretty good. We can kind of confirm that by listening to the very beginning. He's got synth going on those, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, that whole bit. Yep, I want to turn it up just a hair. Yeah, but I'm good with the sound of it. So we've got the same stuff we put on this in the past. Little dip there at 402, plus the high pass and the low pass, and then a soothe, just making sure that everything's staying, not where it's going to stab your ears, basically. Nice and easy there. All right, we got a little bit of a lead on this song, but there's not much. There's a single lead track here, which just has a little section right before the singing starts at the end of the intro. We're definitely not going to need this compressor on the master bus. We'll take a look at the multipressor. So we got our normal stuff here. This is the transparent black sterling. That'd be this one right here. Another John Petrucci 7-string. But the only other thing that this guitar plays on the album is the solo at the end of the title track, Boundless. So we've got our same settings for that. So theoretically, this should sit pretty well. Oh, Dad asked which guitar played the lead. That one. You read my mind. Real short little lead. One that I considered for a while taking out of there, actually. But this intro goes on for a little while, so it felt nice to add additional layers to keep interest in what was going on. So let's take a look at the multipressor. You know what? What's the multipressor doing over here? Okay, this multipressor is only looking at sections 1 and 3. So yeah, this isn't specifically unnecessary. This particular multipressor is probably arguably unnecessary. But not specifically so.
Purpose, always a purpose. Purpose.
Okay, I think I'm good with that as is. We've also got a channel EQ here, which is probably mid-range bandpass stuff. Ooh. What? Okay, I hope the live stream didn't just hitch for you guys. YouTube just claimed to me that I was signed out all of a sudden. Weird. Seems to be still going. I guess we'll continue. I don't know what just happened. Anyway, we've got a channel EQ going on here, which has a dip at 282 and a little boost at 1200. Just trying to get rid of some muddiness and increase the presence.
Purpose, always a purpose.
Yeah, I could use a hair more of that lead too, I think, but not too much.
Purpose, always a purpose. We don't know what it is.
Okay. All right. I really like the verse vocals in this one too. The back and forth thing, which can get old if you keep doing the female singer gets a verse and then they both sing the chorus, and then the male singer gets a verse and then they both sing the chorus. Having the almost rapid fire back and forth, I feel like was a neat idea. Good with how that we've got the same stuff on her and I's vocals that we normally do there. So let's turn on our de-esser, and then we'll take a look at the multipressor. We do actually have a couple of points where her and I are singing at the same time, but they may not need compressed because there's not a bunch of it. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Now that I'm thinking about it, there is more than I was thinking, but I'm not sure I want to compress it. So let's take a look at our multipressor here during the verse.
Purpose, always a purpose. We don't know what it is. And we can know what it is. Stumbling, blindly stumbling along. Hope that we won't be wrong. Find the place we belong. Shaped more by the worst of our feelings. Propelled ahead by the way we become. The experience of bad situations shapes reactions for years to come.
Good with that. We also have a channel EQ here, both of which are mid-range bandpass. I always start that with multi incorrectly. Mid-range bandpass stuff here. So let's just kind of take a listen here to a couple of bits.
Stumbling, blindly stumbling along. Hope that we won't be wrong. Find the place we belong. Shaped more by the worst of our feelings. Propelled ahead by the way we become. The experience of bad situations shapes reactions for years to come. We pray there's a silver lining here. We'll be great.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our background vocals while we're here. De-essing, of course. Let's take a look at our multipressor here.
We pray there's a silver lining here. We'll be great. Though we struggle to find it now, we'll make it through somehow. We may never know the reasons why. There's a purpose within this fight. Deny the wrong and find the light.
I think we got it at the end there. Let's take a look at a compressor as well.
We pray there's a silver lining here. We'll be great. Though we struggle to find it now, we'll make it through somehow. We may never know the reasons why. There's a purpose
think the orchestras might be getting just a hair loud. Let's take those down just a little bit there and move on. Okay, so I think now that we've got our background vocal stuff in, now that we have gotten to the end of that, because our intro stuff is all good. I want to take a listen to that again just to make sure that I'm correct in thinking that. The intro is the only thing that we haven't really taken a look at. But I'm pretty happy with how it sounds, I think. Let's take a listen to that and just make sure. That's a cool intro, eh? I like that. This whole song is neat. I feel like I've said that about all of them. All right, so now it's time for our mid-range band pass listen, where we are listening to the entire song with only the mid-range. We've cut out the lows, we've cut out the highs. We are listening for the mid-range. Everything seems pretty well in balance in full quality, so if something seems out of balance when you're only listening to the mid-range, it means you probably need to do some EQ moves on whatever seems too loud or too quiet within that mid-range to get it to come out. Helps your mix translate better across lots of different systems. Also makes your mix just sound generally better anyway. Makes everything slot together real nice. So I've got that turned on now. Let's take a listen through the whole song like that. Kind of funny to not hear that come into full quality. Might want to review that lead at the beginning. Seemed like it took up a little too much space in the mid-range still. Some of those squeals seem a little loud too, but I thought that in the full quality also.
We need the help to stay strong.
All these concerns will be gone. Adversity is the spark for wisdom. We emerge as who we need to be.
Though the reasoning is still unsure, pieces set in place perfectly.
That ending. I still think in retrospect we should have thrown another one of those in the middle of the intro of song 9, just because people are like, oh, finally the next song started, that finally that stupid riff is done, and then it happens one more time, just inexplicably in the middle of the next song. We continue on like nothing happened. Okay, yeah, it's pretty good with all of that. I do want to hear the lead in the intro one more time. I added an extra cut right around 500 hertz, and I think that mostly fixed it. I made it a little bit less of a cut just now. Okay, yeah, I think you might want to turn the synth down. The synth that comes in with a really neat part before the lead, and then maybe the synth should come down just a little bit. Put that ending like at the end of the album after a long silence, yeah. Just one more time, just in case you forgot. Yeah. We should make it sound like if we end the whole album with the nature sounds, which is my intention, which we'll get to. I wonder if we could almost make it sound like somebody walks by holding a radio that's playing that. That might be going too far, but it would be pretty funny. All right, so we can turn our mid-range bandpass back off now, so we're back in full quality. Only made a couple of changes here and there, so I think for the most part everything should sound about the same in full quality. The lead we definitely changed a little bit. The vocals we changed a little bit, but for the most part everything was left alone. We've done a pretty good job in previous songs making this stuff slot together. So the mid-range bandpass listen is becoming less and less like wild chase down every little problem, you know what I mean? So now we enter chunk 3 here, which is volume detail. So we just need to go through each part of the song and make sure that each thing is turned up or down appropriately for what needs to be happening. We've got a couple of things to do. I don't think we need to turn the bass drum or the snare drum up or down at any point in the song. It seems pretty good already. I was really loving that even in the mid-range bandpass listen, you could hear a lot of those ghost notes in the groove snare during the chorus that Eli was playing. Like I mentioned, I think in the last episode, those are really hard to get to come through a mix, especially a dense metal mix. It's hard to get ghost notes on the snare, but real slow. Yeah, that riff needs to be real slow. Yeah. Hard to get ghost notes to come through a dense metal mix, but we seem to be achieving it, which is good. Very happy for that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and look to see if there's any point in the song that Eli hit floor tom 1 and 2 at the same time. See, here he hits 2, but not at the same time as 1. Same thing here. Closer, but still separate right there. Okay, so no point does he hit the 2 together. If he does, I like to pan floor tom 1 to the other side so we get a nice big wide hit. But it looks like that's not necessary in this case. Okay, so then our first order of business of sound detail then is going to be going through the song fill by fill, or kind of section by section really, because the verses have a whole lot of tom stuff going on, and making sure that we can hear all of the toms good enough in every fill. So let's increase the size of these tom tracks just a little bit, put a volume envelope on each one, and roll through the song and see what we hear. So remember, we're hearing everything, but we're paying special attention now to the tom fills themselves. Can we hear each tom appropriately? Yep.
Purpose,
Always a purpose.
we don't know what it
And
is.
we can know what it is.
Stumbling,
Blindly stumbling along.
hope that we won't be wrong.
Find the place we belong.
Shaped more by the worst of our feelings, propelled ahead by the way we become.
The experience of bad situations shapes reactions for years to come.
Okay, I was pretty good with that. Not sure I really heard floor tom 2 just there. Let's give that a little bit more oomph, but everything else seemed pretty good.
The experience of bad situations shapes reactions for years to come.
Oh, you know what? Another thing. This crazy snare fill right here in 70, I feel like has always been a little bit too loud. Almost missed it there because we were paying more attention to the toms, but I think this snare ought to come down a little bit. Yeah, maybe even a little bit more yet. That happens another time in the song, too. Let's go ahead and search that out while I'm thinking about it. We'll go ahead and turn it down so I can't forget. Yep, right there. We'll just make sure that it's only one more time that happens. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. continue on with tom fills now. Yep. Could use just a hair more of both of those, I think. And maybe even just a little more yet. Okay, I'm good with that. Oh, we were right next to another one. Nice, okay. Going into another verse here.
Future,
A better future.
determination within,
Understanding begins
running.
towards this new dawn.
We need the help to stay
All
strong.
these concerns will be gone. Adversity is a spark for wisdom. We emerge as who we need to be.
Though the reasoning is still unsure, pieces set in place perfectly. We pray, struggle to find it now. We'll make it through somehow. We may never know the reasons why. There's a purpose within this fight.
Deny the wrong and find the light.
Okay, so yeah, this lower tom fill right here, I would still like to hear just a little more of. Still feeling pretty good about everything so far.
Wrong and find the light.
Almost. Little adjustment.
Find the light.
There's a silver lining here. Though we struggle to find it now, we'll make it through somehow. We may never learn the reasons why. Hear this message within your fight. Deny the wrong and find the light.
Yeah, definitely want to hear those last two hits a little better. Yeah, you know what? I don't even mind cranking these two hits, actually. Almost. We're getting there. There we go. Yeah, I don't mind that. Okay, and then I'm quite sure that created a redundancy on floor tom 2. Yes, it did. Just go ahead and stick that up. 4.5, yep. And then that will allow us to get rid of that node right there. You know what? I'm gonna crank floor tom 2 all the way up. Yeah. Just make sure. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, did any of those end up not needing an envelope? Nope, we ended up using that on all of them. Okay. Got our toms. I don't really think there's anything with anything in the overhead channels that needs up or down. I think all's pretty good where it is. No hi-hat we already determined, so there's no need for our soothe plug-in on the overhead master. I think our backward cymbal is already good where it is. So that brings us to the drums and bass listen through. So we need to go through the song and mute everything except for the drums and the bass. We can leave the intro on. That's not going to hurt anything. And we're really paying attention to the bass here. We're listening for cool little parts that may be buried under everything else in the song. I do think that I want to try turning the verses down just a tiny little bit. The verses are meant to be, bass feature, and they are, but we got to be really careful about the balance between the bass and the vocals, because obviously your average listener is going to be paying more attention to the vocals and will be upset if something is covering the vocals. Now, I don't necessarily think the bass is covering it, but it might be a little, just a hair louder than it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that just right off the bat, but I want to be really careful about listening back for that, because if it feels like the bass is starting to become background, then we've turned it down too far. Start with a dB&1, I think. We'll go ahead and do it in the second verse too, and we will adjust accordingly. There we go. Okay. Just going to skip most of the intro and jump up to where the drums and bass start. Nice. Yeah, I think it's pretty in balance. Again, we'll pay a pretty close attention to those verses once the vocals are in to make sure. We did increase the bass there, so it's only a decibel drop instead of a decibel and a half for those verses. So we want to pay really close attention to that once the vocals are back in. Okay, so we need to swap out the bass for the rhythm guitars. So mute the bass, unmute the rhythm guitars, and now we are going to be listening specifically for any area where James and I are playing something different, so that we can make sure that the harmonies or whatever it may be that we're doing differently remain in balance. So drums and rhythm guitars now. So we're in harmony there, but it seems okay. Sometimes those pinch harmonics there just jump out of the mix in a way that I'm not super fond of. Yeah, I think the whole intro's in harmony, or that weird section there, but I think it's fine. I want to try turning down these squeals a little bit. I don't want them to disappear. I just want them to be a little bit more the same volume as everything else. It's going to be a little bit of a bear determining where they all are. Let's try a 2 decibel drop. Yeah, I'd say that 2 decibel drop at least made them seem a little bit more like the same volume as the riff around them. Let's maintain that for now. I can actually see the next couple. Oh, come on. Give me 7.5. There we go. And this is going to be one as well. So I think this intro goes through 5 times, which is odd. I wonder whose idea that was. That feels like a Sam idea. Let's do the riff an odd number of times. I don't remember specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me if that were a Sam idea. Okay. Now that's definitely a James riff right there. Interestingly too, now I'm doing a pinch harmonic, James is not. What James is doing sounds like a pinch harmonic, but he is actually hitting a harmonic in between the 2nd and 3rd fret on the low B string, hitting that without pushing it down, and then after it's started ringing, pushing it down and giving it the vibrato, which I've never seen done before. In fact, I would, if somebody had asked me if that was possible, I probably would have told them no. I would have assumed that if you hit a harmonic and then push the string down, that the harmonic will stop. But at least with this distortion, that's what he was doing, and it did not stop. And it sounds just like the pinch harmonic. So he's hitting that harmonic, then pushing the string down and giving it the vibrato. Weird, but just a super neat. I don't want to say typical James, but it's typical of James to come up with neat little things like that aren't the conventional way of doing things. Yeah, Dad said I've never heard of that. Yeah, wild. Typical of James to come up with neat, unconventional things like that. And this was a new one for this album. So of course we're in harmony that whole thing, but again, I feel like it's balanced as is. Dad says AfterWinter would have a whole different sound if not for James' licks for sure. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. He is 100% of what made the previous band sound, and that is something that we have very happily taken with us. Okay, so then let's check out this chorus here. Squeal. I love that chorus riff so much too. It's funny how that started life as a guitar riff. I feel like that was one of mine. If James is watching, he can correct me if I'm wrong about that. I feel like that's a me riff, but the guitars ironically became like the least important thing playing it. You know, the rhythm guitars are doing that main riff, but your ears are drawn more to the harpsichord and the 12-string playing it. Okay, and that's probably a squeal right at the end there, too. Now, there was a squeal earlier in this riff. Or no, it was before the chorus. I think it was at the end of the verse there was a squeal, but I want to leave that one at normal volume for now. Who is James licking? Classic. We'll have to wait for his autobiography to come out before we know for sure. Yes. Could be anybody, Eli. It could be anybody. With all that, I'm pretty sure none of this is harmony. Yeah, and then we have our little Wheatley bits here. I love that tom fill right there too. I'm going to back up and hear that again. It's just such a weird thing, but it fits perfectly. This. So a little bit of harmony in this one, not too much, but it seemed like it was kind of naturally in balance every time it happened. So other than turning some of those squeals down, I think we're good there. Okay, so now we want to turn the bass back on and give a good listen to our bass layer. And this again is B-A-S-E, bass layer, where we have the drums, rhythm guitars, and bass all playing. And we'll go ahead and turn on the 12-string guitars in here too. We might as well. There they are. Clean guitars usually count as rhythm or bass layer as well too, I would say, especially in this case. And everything on the top of the everything else in this is kind of like the sprinkles, the fancy bits on top. So the pianos, the orchestra, the synth, the little lead thing, all the vocals. We want to make sure that we have a nice tight bass first. You've described a lot of the guitars on this album. What is the drum set that was used? That's a good question. I'm pretty sure our drum set is a Ludwig, or at least most of it is a Ludwig. I need to get a little bit up on our drums as far as what's going on there. Eli might have to field a little bit of this too. Eli might know a little bit more about the AfterWinter drums than me. The two floor toms are from a Sound Art drum set, which is definitely an off-brand, the Sound Art. The two floor toms are still from the black drum set that Right Way to Nowhere used. Of course, Right Way used the Ludwig set too, but this is currently called the AfterWinter drums. 3 rack toms, 2 floor toms. The snare is not from this set, but I don't remember what the brand is. This is something that John gave us back in the day. I'm blanking John's last name. Oh, I'm gonna feel like a moron when I remember his name. It's going to come to me at some point. But anyway, the snare was gifted to us. And then we have an array of cymbals, of course, which are various brands. We have just about the whole gambit there on the cymbals. We've got Zildjian. We've got... oh my gosh. Come on, brain. Help me out here. We've got Meinl cymbals. We've got a Wuhan, China. Zildjian and Sabian. Gosh, I couldn't think of the word Sabian. We've got a whole bunch of different cymbals on there. Big drum set, double bass drum set. Although we've only mic'd one of the bass drums, we don't have to worry about 2 different mics. We just use that double pedal on the single bass drum, so we can just mic the one. Cody also asked, what bass did Dan play? What keyboard did Sam play? That's yes, all excellent questions. Basses, Dad's got an Ibanez 5-string. Which is most of the album. Anything standard is the Ibanez 5-string, and then the couple of drop C songs would be a 4-string. I believe it's a Cort axe bass, which you can see if you go back and watch the previous band's music video for the song Black Widow. You can see that thing in action. That's a good old Gene Simmons axe bass, which sounds fantastic as well. Sam played one of his keyboards for this. Of course, it's all MIDI. Or did he play this thing that's over here? He might have actually played the keyboard that's over here. So I've recently bought a M-Audio KeyStation 88, which is just a MIDI controller. Looks like a keyboard, but it has no internal sounds at all. You just USB it to the computer, and the computer takes care of the sounds. I'm pretty sure all or most of this album was on this KeyStation, but I might be remembering that wrong. Because Sam's got a really nice weighted keyboard that does have its own speakers, but also it can be a MIDI controller. And we may have used that for part or all. But yeah, this is mostly the same stuff we've been using for the last couple of years, at least. I think all of Paramnesia was that other keyboard that I mentioned, Sam's keyboard. That's a keyboard and a MIDI controller. The basses probably would have been the same drum set, all that sort of stuff. We've got a configuration that works, and we're able to just kind of roll through stuff pretty quickly with it, which is nice. Excuse me. All right, so let's take a listen to our bass layer here. So we'll have the intro like normal, then we got drums, bass, rhythm guitars, clean guitars. pedals might still be a little loud. Everything's sounding pretty tight. And one more for the road. Yeah, I like it. I'm definitely concerned the squeals are sometimes still too loud. That's going to be a point that we're going to want to go over basically next. When everything else is turned back on, we want to make sure that those squeals are appropriate. I think we were right to target them and bring them down a little. I did turn the bass up a little bit more in the verses, so we're now at only half a decibel reduction for the bass during the verses. Again, want to pay special attention to that once the vocals are back in there to make sure the bass hasn't gone into the background. It does still need to be featured, we just don't want it to be covering up the vocals. Okay, well, I think we're going to need to close out. I've got a client coming at 7 to get some recording done, good old Joe Howard. If you guys have not checked out the couple of songs that he's put out, one's called Home and one's called No Better. They are both fantastic. Good listens. Very much not this style of music, but he should be here probably in a little bit less than 10 minutes. So it feels like we just got started, but we do need to go ahead and close out so that I can get a good session in with him, get some more of his stuff finished. He's working on an EP that's getting there. It's getting pretty close to done. So, yeah, we did make some pretty good progress on this stuff today, so when we come back, we should be able to finish out our first draft for this song, getting volume detail in for the pianos, the orchestra, the synth, the lead, and all of the vocals. And then this one will be good to go, and we will be on to song 9. Yes, Cody knows Joe. Yeah, Joe is fantastic guitarist and singer. Very kind of like folksy kind of stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, whether you are watching right now, whether you were watching before, whether you're watching this in the future when it's not live, I and everybody in AfterWinter appreciate every second of time that you spend checking this stuff out, hanging out in the streams or listening to the music, whether you're streaming it or whether you've bought a CD. We couldn't possibly appreciate it more. One more time, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. We've still got a few more songs left on the album, so we've got at least several more episodes. Not sure. I wonder if we'll reach 40. I think it'll be right probably around 40 is when we'll be getting about done with the album. But anyway, plenty more where this comes from. If you're enjoying watching it, please do consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, please consider coming back and hanging out with us again. I enjoy all of the interaction in the comments, so thanks everybody. Thanks Cody for always being there in the comments. And we had just about half the band in the comments today too. So Eli and Dad and Majennica all throwing out some stuff here and there. It's a lot of fun to hang out and do this with everybody here as well. Looking forward already to getting into song 9. I love this one too, but song 9's got a lot of weird quirkiness that I'm excited to kind of dig into as well. So next time we should be finishing this one up. I'm aiming for some sort of stream tomorrow, although I'll admit student schedule's a little bit weird, so I'm not 100% sure when I'll have time. Hopefully there will be a stream tomorrow. If there isn't, there will definitely be one on Thursday, probably in the afternoon. So please feel free to come out and hang out with me then. Hopefully tomorrow, but if not, then on Thursday. And either way, we'll catch you guys then. Thanks one more time for watching.